and tell you that I'm very excited to introduce our program today is Miles Glowacki. He's the Economic Development Coordinator for the City of Forest Grove. He's been in that role for a little bit less than a year, but previously worked with the City of Beaverton in a similar fashion. So please join me in giving a warm Rotary welcome to Miles Glowacki.
Thanks everyone. Thanks for inviting me to be here. Great group of people. I've never been to a Rotary meeting, so it's interesting to see your little rituals and your brags and all this kind of stuff. So thanks for having me. So I've been with the city for about 7 months now. Before that I was with the City of Beaverton for 17 years. Before that I worked at the state capitol for a representative as legislative aide for a session. I only did one session because I found out what that was like and decided that wasn't for me. I don't recommend it. So I'm excited to be here in Forest Grove and be working with the community. So the Economic Department seeks to further the economic prosperity of Forest Grove. And then I have a couple of big projects, or kind of buckets, that my work fills into. And that's general economic development activities, our tourism efforts, our urban renewal area, the City of Forest Grove 2040 Vision and Action Plan, and then I help oversee the Economic Development Commission, which is a group of volunteers that advise City Council on economic development issues. So for just kind of basic, kind of old school, run-of-the-mill economic development, it's a lot of working with businesses on recruitment, retention, expansion. We have an enterprise zone for our industrial areas, which gives tax abatements to companies that make significant investments in the community, both in terms of their cash dollars and in jobs that they're creating, and they can get a tax abatement, so I oversee that program. Work with our partners at the county and the state on workforce training. Hear a lot from businesses that they need more training for their workforce, they need more skilled workforce applying for their jobs. And so economic development professionals are hearing that. We're working towards building up that skill set for our worker base. I talk to a lot of businesses one-on-one that they need something from the city or they have a special question. Those are probably the funnest conversations because it gives me a really hard problem to solve, and then I got to figure it out and help somebody. It's a really great feeling, part of this job. And then I have a bunch of community partnerships. I sit on the chamber board as an ex officio member, work with Adelante Mujeres, in particular on the farmers market, City Club, and then the school district and Pacific University's great partnership too, but they didn't make my list. So the city does have a tourism program. We receive a little over $100,000 in transient lodging taxes, which are taxes that you pay when you rent a hotel room. And we get a very small percentage of that, and it works out to about $100,000 a year. And that money can only be used towards furthering tourism efforts in the city. Court Carrier used to do this for the city for a couple of years, and then the chamber had the contract for a couple of years. This year we sent an RFP out, request for proposals, and found out that we were asking our tourism coordinator to do too much for the amount of money we had. And so we took a step back and kind of looked at the framework. And we broke it, and I kind of broke it down into three kind of fundamental areas. That's marketing, and I think event sponsorship will be of interest to this group, and then our capital improvements program. Marketing is likely going to be handled by a professional marketing firm, people who know how to do that, who to get the word out to encourage people to come stay overnight in Forest Grove. The event sponsorship is a new program that we're taking to City Council in the next couple of weeks. It'll be a grant, we're proposing a grant of up to $5,000 for events that encourage tourism in Forest Grove, be open to nonprofits in the area, and can be used for all manner of anything kind of related to the event. it's a kind of a new thing for the city to take on sponsorships. So we're excited to see what can come out of that, with what a little more funding can do for some of these different events that we have in Forest Grove. And then we have a capital improvements program. There'll be a grant for that too. And capital improvements could be things like purchasing quality tents for your outdoor event, or quality heaters for your tents so that you can have events in the shoulder seasons. It can also look like removable street bollards for closing down the street, all manner of different things, but anything that has kind of a long-term lifespan that benefits tourism in some way will be eligible for that grant program. And like I said, I'm taking this to city council, so they haven't approved, they've approved these buckets, but not the funding amounts. So we're making progress though. I also oversee our urban renewal area. It's hard to see on this map, it's not very good, but it's this green shaded area. And the urban renewal area, if you're inside that district, we put a cap on taxes and said, you know, this year the tax amount for your piece of property is $50. And anything that comes off, as time goes on, that number rises. As everybody knows, gets a tax bill, it goes up every year. We're going to take what goes up and put it into a special account to reinvest back into this district, so that the entire district's land value increases, further enhancing tax revenue and then service for the residents. So it's not a new tax, it's just a different way of collecting taxes for a specific area and using that to invest in that very specific area.
Do you want questions at the end?
Sure.
All right.
I feel like it's going to be a really hard question.
No, I was just curious about your map.
Yeah, why it's so bad?
What those streets are.
Well, I kind of can see, but it feels like so much of what's in your green space are, well, you know, the joke is old people come to Forest Grove to visit their parents. So most of the things in the green space are the assisted living facilities.
There's
like Marquee and all the rest of them, Brookside and everything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how are you going to urban renewal a corporation that has a huge land investment, because it's really multi-family dwellings?
Yeah, so we wouldn't be targeting that type of property. Throughout this whole district, there are lots of parcels that are vacant that can be developed. There's parcels that are underutilized, big parcels with a very small house that's turned into an office. That could be apartments, it could be mixed use, could be a bunch of different things. There's vacant industrial land in this zone that's, it looks like it's being used, but those buildings are empty. It's just sitting there. So there's lots of opportunities there. And if you're interested in it, it's on the city website. We actually call out different properties and different places that expansion can happen.
And you capped their taxes, so they're only going to pay a smaller portion than the rest of us.
No, they pay the full amount.
They pay the full amount.
We take a percentage off the top to reinvest in that area.
I misheard you. Thank you for the clarity.
Yeah, it's not a tax break for anybody. And then the money can only be spent on certain things like infrastructure projects, public amenities, redevelopment grants, which I'll talk about, and then land banking. So we're also bringing a new program for City Council's consideration. It's these facade improvements we already have, but tenant improvements and building improvements. And what that could look like is we have lots of buildings that have 2 and 3 stories, and the second and third stories are sitting empty. They may have retail on the bottom, but nothing going on the top. That doesn't sustain a building. You can't pay the mortgage in the building on that. You need to activate the full building. So it could be going into old second-story buildings and turning them into apartments, or it could be turning them into a more usable office environment for today's modern office. It could be adding ADA accessibility. It could be a bunch of things that basically increase the value of the property and make it more useful and rentable and encourage businesses to be there and residents to be there. And then land banking is the idea that you buy empty land from willing sellers and you hold on to it. You don't know exactly what you're going to do with it, but when it comes up for sale, you invest in it and then develop a plan for that. Urban renewals, it's a really interesting time in the city of Forest Grove for urban renewal. We've just paid off the Jesse Quinn, so there's no debt. There will be no debt at the end of the year on the fund. So there's lots of exciting projects that can happen. The Forest Grove 2040 vision, I want to get this in front of this group because it's going to be this effort to go out and talk to as many people in Forest Grove as we can about, we're going to ask a bunch of different questions. They're open-ended questions. They're not like, do you like Forest Grove? Yes or no? You know, they're like, what do you want to see in Forest Grove in 10 years? What do we need downtown? A second grocery store, right? So what does the city aspire to be in terms of its physical, social, economic, and environmental aspects? And this will be a multi-year effort by the city to get out and talk to everyone. We'll look at what conditions exist in the city now, and then we'll generate a roadmap and a plan to where we want to see the city go in the next 15 and 20 years. And then that'll be incorporated into how the city does business. So how the city budgets, how the city council makes decisions, how the city functions and allocates resources will be guided by this document. It'll have actual steps. You can point to it and say, we are going to do X. And when that happens, you report back to the community. We said we were going to do it, and we did it. So it'll be a very tangible differences you'll be able to see in your community. So you'll be seeing more of that roll out. And when we roll that out, I would love to come back and maybe pick your brains, have a conversation instead of just a presentation. These are just some of the things we aspire to have done in the vision, and I won't read through them. You can see them, but I went through the vision in the city of Beaverton. It was a really powerful document, and I can point to what you can see in Beaverton today. You can see in that document from 15 years ago, like the Patricia Research Center for the Arts, like that development in downtown and the restaurants in downtown. So I'm excited for Forest Grove to take that on. And I'm excited to help lead the charge on that. And then I have the Economic Development Commission. It's 15 members. We meet monthly over lunch at McMenamins. And they also act as the Urban Renewal Advisory Committee. So we get together and we talk about what's going on in the economic world for Forest Grove. You know, we've got representatives of some of our large manufacturers. We've got small business representatives. And we've got real estate agents and brokers, and we just kind of talk about new policies and programs and advise City Council on what they think City Council should do with those programs and policies. With that, oh, I forgot I added these 2 slides this morning, sorry. Some of the challenges businesses we're facing in Forest Grove is we have a limited industrial supply. In fact, almost all the industrial land in Forest Grove is developed. I can think of maybe a handful of parcels left, and they're all they're too small for what a lot of companies are looking for. We have limited commercial supply, especially downtown. On the one hand, it's great to have low vacancy rates. On the other hand, I get calls once a week, somebody asking for a space downtown. People want to be in downtown Forest Grove. Many businesses are looking for like very small storefronts, like 1,000 square feet or 500 square feet of space, which just isn't really markedly available. So maybe if there's something creative we could do around that, investing in a building that could provide multiple small storefronts for those emerging businesses. I'm sure you've all heard about worker shortages, supply line disruptions, and just the general cost of doing business is up. That's what I hear from people. And then opportunities, expansion of the urban growth boundary for industrial uses. That's back on the table as Metro looks at the industrial land supply. The CHIPS Act funding. So the big businesses are getting big dollars, but they all rely on small businesses that support them. support their supply chains, support them in all variety of manners. And we'll see those businesses open in Forest Grove because we're so close to Intel. But it's such a better community to be in. So like we'll see a lot of people kind of migrate out this way. Talked a little bit about redevelopment on underutilized properties, conversions to second and third floors, and then businesses want to be in Forest Grove. I think that says a lot about your community here. I get calls every week about businesses that want to start a business here or move to Forest Grove or are in Forest Grove and want to expand to a bigger space in Forest Grove. And there's new businesses that want to get started here. So I think that's all. Oh, my last request is we have boards and commissions recruitment. Since you all love service so much, this is another way to give back. These are the boards and commissions that are currently recruiting, and you have till November 17th to apply. And I would encourage you, if you've never served on a board or commission for a city, it's a great way to learn so much about the city and its process and just get your feet wet. It takes a couple hours of time a month, maybe 2 hours for a meeting, maybe an hour to prepare. So it's not a huge time investment. That's all I've got. Are there questions?
Do you know what the process looks like for somebody wanting to get their hands on that urban renewal money? Or like those grant applications, is that something that we look through?
It's coming.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's all in process. So I gotta just get the okay from City Council to fund the program, and then they'll be rolled out. Yeah, and we'll be doing marketing to the area to let people know. So it won't be like you won't not know. Like hopefully you'll hear about it.
Curious about the plan to convince Metro to expand the zoning for industrial use in Forest Grove. Is there such a high need for that here that you're needing some? And how much are we talking about? You know?
Yeah, so it's not specific to Forest Grove. It's actually the entire Metro community or Metro area. And the problem is, the way Metro looked at the last time they did it, they kind of rated all industrial land as the same. So if it was an acre parcel, it was the same as a 500 acre parcel in their kind of scheme of things. And so this time they're going back and saying, what actually are people looking for, and what is the actual facts on the ground? And that's going to show that in Western Washington County, we need more industrial land supply. Yeah.
With the Vision 2040, I would encourage you to actively engage Pacific University's populations.
Yes.
Not just with development, but just for livability. There's a lot of faculty members who work at Pacific that don't live in Forest Grove. They choose to live in Bethany or Portland or Beaverton. What would make Forest Grove more attractive to younger professionals to actually stay out here? And I would also encourage you to actively engage the student population at Pacific University. They have needs that are very unique. They're here for 4 years. They're going to be using the community, but what would help keep them here to spend what little money that they have, because they are college students, but to make the university community more vibrant for undergraduate students.
Yeah, those are great tips. I may reach out to you to get some contact.
Mm-hmm.
Great. How about you?
If you don't live in the city, do you have an opportunity to be on the board if you're in the
So I think
Forest Grove area?
Yeah, I think the rule is if you live inside the school district boundary, that you're eligible, but only like 2 people from board on each board can be outside the, but in that district. Yeah.
Are there any new businesses or developments that are coming that you can share with us? I know you probably know about some you can't, but
yeah,
any new stuff happening in town?
There's 2 data centers that are looking to develop. The big one on Oak and 47. That one, I'm not sure where they're at in their steps. It kind of takes 2 steps forward and one step back. And then there's another one over by, on the south side of town, off of 47. So those could be they could do a lot for the city in terms of the revenue they'll generate from the electricity that they'll have to buy from your power company. So it could be interesting. Yeah, they take a ton of power and they have to buy it all from the city. So
I guess a follow-up to that, right now McMinnon's is using that Oakham 47 property is parking for their concert series, which has been a boon to bringing people into Forest Grove. Is there talk with McMinnon's on how to mitigate the parking issues that are going to continue to happen if that data center goes forward?
Yeah, they're working on it. And they're working on where they do the concerts too. That might change. Not outside Forest Grove, it'll still be here, but their layout, they're working on it. I think they discovered how well they've been received out here in our building. Yeah.
Do I understand correctly they're planning to close Oak?
I don't know that for sure.
My understanding
I'll have
was
to
that
look.
was the case. That certainly would have ramifications for livability.
Yeah, I don't. I will double check. I haven't heard that though.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me go back here and then to you.
2 questions. One, the market is supposed to be built there on Main and B Street.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other question, when is the roundabout going to break ground for the new one that's going to be built on Thatcher and E Street, I guess that is?
Okay. For the second question, I don't know. I just haven't been here long enough to keep track of all the projects. And then the first question, the market. So where we're at today is we had an exclusive agreement with a market company, supermarket company, that we were only going to talk to them. That agreement has expired, so we can go out and talk to anybody we want again. We are still talking to that market, and they're still trying to get their stuff together. Trying to get commercial loans right now is incredibly difficult. And so it might be looking at what can the city provide in terms of assistance to get a package together. And that would come out of that urban renewal agency funds. So we're in talks, and we're open to other grocery stores. I think everybody at City Hall would love to see a grocery store there.
All of those plans, all those plans that they had initially, they're scratched then?
They're not. They're still working on putting it together.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, we just don't have to only talk to them. We can talk to whoever we want
But it
again.
wasn't just a market going in, there was office spaces and live-work
Yeah.
atmosphere, correct?
Yeah, and they just haven't been able to put loan packages together.
Thank you.
Yeah.
2 questions, or a statement and a question. We talked earlier about the city developing, having more forward-thinking development for commercial at David Hill and 47 in the commercial area there. Another thought that as a secondary business that we could put there is urgent care, dock in the boxes.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing we need more of out here, is more dock in the box. But my question is, with the incoming and high velocity amount of industrial growth on Holiday and Cornelius, which is where my business is, are we getting to a point where we're finally going to push Holiday through to U Street and develop all that industrial back there, and make that property more, have a higher rate of return for all parties engaged?
I don't know the answer to that. I'd have to look.
Happy to show you on a map if you're not familiar.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with there, and I'd have to look at the long-term traffic analysis plans and see what they have proposed, and I can find out, is what I'm saying. Yeah, it's a good question. Yes, Gordon.
I know that you're in the process of developing this new funding for some of these endeavors, and it may not be there yet, but what do you anticipate the process will be to apply for event sponsorship funding, and when will that be in place? And the reason I ask is I'm working with Concourse, and we're in the midst of our 50th anniversary of the Concourse planning for this next year, and it's an ideal time to try and really roll out the big guns and try and do something special for Forest Grove. So what do you recommend? When
Yeah, so my timeline is present to City Council on November 13th.
November 13th.
So if that's approved, then it's just a matter of getting the program rolled out, which I've got a really good start on it. So
Super.
yeah,
That's
sooner rather than the goal is to get it going.
That's fabulous.
Yeah. Oh, yes, ma'am.
So there's been in the past a big talk about this 21st being a pedestrian kind of street and all that stuff going on. Nothing's happened. We haven't heard anything about that in a couple of years now. Is that still in the process, or we're
Still in the process. It's funding. It's figure out how to fund the project, and City Council kind of deciding how they want to structure the funding. Yeah, still moving forward on plans, and as far as I know, they're still interested in doing it.
I think maybe time for one more question, unless that was
Perfect.
well, let's do it.